what you ask of your franchise quarterback. Hey, the game's close in the fourth quarter or you're behind. Go make throws under pressure into tight spots to win the game. Mac Jones did that. So, people should give him his flowers for this game, especially the people who have been killing this kid relentlessly throughout his career because he doesn't look like Tom Brady. He doesn't do what Tom Brady does. Look, the kid got it done against a really good opponent. I don't care what shape the Bills in are right now. That's the Buffalo Bills. And they're a good team, and Josh Allen is on the other sideline. And Mac Jones outdueled Josh Allen. If this was Tom Brady, people would be pants off talking about how great Tom Brady was. And, because it's Mac Jones, people, want to poke holes in it, which there are holes to poke in it. But the bottom line is, the fourth quarter, he was tremendous. He got the job done, 2 scoring drives, including one when it looked like the Patriots were going to blow the game. They didn't go down and just kick a field goal to go overtime. They won the game with like 12 seconds left. I mean, it was tremendous. It's what we've been waiting for out of Mac Jones.
The Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast is brought to you by Fanduel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, everybody. We've got a win to talk about today. We also have to talk about Bill Belichick's contract situation since everybody and their mother has been reporting on that the last couple of days. But first, I let you know that this episode is brought to you by Fanduel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Greg, what team did we watch on Sunday, my man? Your main takeaways from that game against the Bills?
Yeah, it was a complete 180 for the Patriots, Nick, and I'm really at a loss to explain it. I mean, look, let's start with they were really good in all 3 phases. I mean, they really were. They won the game in all 3 phases, which I can't even remember the last time they did it. I mean, even including special teams. Special teams was great in this game. I thought that the game plans by both Bill O'Brien and Steve Belichick, Gerard Mayo, were tremendous in this game. They definitely gave their team an advantage. I was especially excited about, the defensive plan, which was actually to play defense against Josh Allen and the Bills for once. After for years I've been railing against that, and they actually decided to play defense, and which was, great to see. And look, I don't think it. Let's also acknowledge that the Bills aren't very good right now. They just aren't. They have a lot of issues on offense. The offensive line isn't very good. I don't know what Ken Dorsey is doing with their passing game. You see other teams like the Raiders and Josh McDaniels, who know the Patriots well, and they're peppering the middle of the field against the Patriots. Yet the Bills, everything was on the exterior, and they didn't really do much of anything down the middle of the field, which was confusing to me. They're injury ravaged on defense, which helped things. So that was part of it. But, let's also acknowledge the Patriots weren't tremendous in this game. I mean, they had 13 points. They were dominating the game. 13 points at halftime, 16 points after 3 quarters, which was basically sort of where they've been all year, sort of like a, an 18, 19, 20-point offense is what they look like if they could cut down on the turnovers, which they didn't have. They almost had a couple of big turnovers in this game. But the most important thing is, and I think should be the main takeaway, and we'll see where this goes. We don't know where it's going to go. But Mac Jones finally had his moment in the fourth quarter. We've been calling for it. I mean, he's been a good quarterback at times during his career for various other circumstances. But he's had opportunities to come away with victories. Sometimes he's done his job, sometimes he hasn't. But the bottom line is, during his career, he only has one fourth quarter comeback, one come from behind victory in the fourth quarter, one game-winning drive, and that was the Houston Texans, which doesn't really even count because that team was god-awful. But he had his moment. He wasn't great for the first 3 quarters. A lot of what the Patriots did on offense was, Bill O'Brien, his scheme, which I thought was tremendous in this game, which we'll get into. But look, the fourth quarter, Mac Jones was dimes. I mean, was it perfect? No. He had to delay a game penalty. He had the near interception. He got strip sacked on a bad play. He missed Demario Douglas, the play before Mike Gesicki caught the game-winning touchdown. It wasn't perfect, but, what you ask of your franchise quarterback, hey, the game's close in the fourth quarter or you're behind, go make throws under pressure into tight spots to win the game. Mac Jones did that. So, people should give him his flowers for this game, especially the people who have been killing this kid relentlessly throughout his career because he doesn't look like Tom Brady. He doesn't do what Tom Brady does. Look, the kid got it done against a really good opponent. I don't care what shape the Bills in are right now. That's the Buffalo Bills. And they're a good team, and Josh Allen is on the other sideline. And Mac Jones outdueled Josh Allen. If this was Tom Brady, people would be pants off talking about how great Tom Brady was. And, because it's Mac Jones, people, want to poke holes in it, which there are holes to poke in it. But the bottom line is the fourth quarter, he was tremendous. He got the job done, 2 scoring drives, including one when it looked like the Patriots were going to blow the game. They didn't go down and just kick a field goal to go overtime. They won the game with like 12 seconds left. I mean, it was tremendous. It's what we've been waiting for out of Mac Jones.
I've countered this idea about the comeback victory thing and the game-winning drive. I think that's fakakta. I think that's such a fugazi thing. And I say that because it's a complete team sport. And we rely on breaking down what the team did for the first 3.5 quarters. But then all of a sudden, it's all about the last 6 minutes and the quarterback. It's a strange thing to me. I don't know why the human brain works the way it does for many, but it does. I have my Mac files, as you called them a week or two ago. I'm not going to get into it. You can check out my podcast, The Nick Cattle Show. This is Greg's podcast. We talk about the game in this pod. You can check it out. But I'll just say this. There are a lot of games in Mac's career as a Patriots quarterback that he has done more than enough to put this team in position to win against good teams in the fourth quarter. And we just forget about those moments because the Patriots end up losing those games. And I'll just say that many of those games, it's not on Mac. It's on the defense. It's on Belichick kicking, a 56-yard field goal that Nick Folk misses by a million miles. It's, punting in overtime against Dallas after your defense gave up. So, I mean, it's fumbles by running backs inside the 10 twice. So there's a lot that goes into that. I will add this because I found it interesting. And again, it's the Nick Cattle Show podcast if you want to check it out to get the full layout of all that. But I will say that I found it interesting, Greg, in the post game. I thought Mac kind of hinted towards that at the podium because he was asked a question about this being his first comeback, blah, blah, blah. And Mac, and I'm paraphrasing it, but Mac said that he's looked at all of those games. He said, I've looked at all of those games, and something along the lines of many things have to go right. And I look at my role that I've played in some of those games, and I need to be better. I think Mac's saying what I'm saying, which is, hey, man, I've looked at all those games we've had a chance. And it isn't always on me, even though that's the narrative. I've actually helped a number of times. So I found that very interesting. I agree with you, most complete game in a long time.
Yeah, one follow-up sort of on the, Mac discussion about coming through in the fourth quarter. And you and I are completely on the same page. And I went through this with, Aaron Rodgers when I covered him, where, it took him a while to get over the hump, as we've talked about on this podcast. But, you could look at specific games where you're like, Rodgers did this, and then, the defense let up a game-winning drive. Rodgers did his part, then the defense didn't. And there's all sorts of stuff like that. But and it's totally valid, and I completely agree with you. I do think, though, however, that there is a significance in actually coming through in a moment like this for a quarterback, especially for his teammates. Like, I just think that, come Wednesday's practice, or, maybe they're on the practice field today. I don't know what their schedule is this week, because first like 24 hours after a game, I'm just buried in film and I don't know what's going on. His teammates are going to look at him in a different way. I mean, when you come through like this in the waning moments of a game for a win, like, they might say the right things about Mac Jones and, and that they believe him and all that stuff. But like when a quarterback actually does it, it changes things. Now, look, they need to go out and follow this up in Miami. I mean, it doesn't do any good if they go out and they get blown out by the Dolphins and they're back to turning the ball over and pick sixes and stuff like that. It's not going to amount to anything. But it was very important for Mac, while he might have done his job in the past, to come through in a moment like this against a good opponent just for his teammates and their belief in him. And the receiver, some of them might be like, oh, okay, just a little bit more belief in Mac, especially at the end of games, or when Mac says, all right, 2 minutes, this is what we're going to do. Because he's done it, now they believe it a little bit more. Maybe there's a little bit more effort. It's just those little intangible things. This does make a difference. And, we'll see. Like I talked about before, Aaron Rodgers, 10-14 to start his career. His teammates were questioning him. He was trying to play hero ball. He got called out on the carpet in a team meeting after losing to Tampa. And then the very next week, he led his drive against Dallas to come back and beat them. And that changed everything for this team. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's the type of thing that can happen when a quarterback comes through like this. Snap into action this NFL season with Fanduel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. I love those little suckers, those little bonus bets. It's like free money. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, let's talk more about the offense from Sunday. Can we all settle down on the Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien comparisons after what we saw against the Bills?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. This was, and I wish I'll have to make some more calls later in the week, when guys sort of decompress from this and are on to the next game. But let's just deal with the offense right now. This was such a different game plan for the offense than we've seen. I mean, they went from nowheresville on offense. They couldn't do anything. And, look, I don't think a lot of it had to do with the offensive line changes. I think it helped. And maybe that was the catalyst for Bill O'Brien to do a few more things that he felt like they could execute things at a higher level. Maybe that's what it was. That's the easiest answer. And often, the easiest answer is the right one. But for Bill O'Brien to come out and use motion as much as he did, RPOs as much as he did, he was able to just scheme up a lot of easy plays for the quarterback, which is something we've been begging for weeks. Like, when your quarterback's like in a funk, like you need the coordinator to go out there and be like, all right, here's a bunch of like easy throws. And that's basically like what the first 3 quarters were. I mean, in the first 3 quarters, I had Mac for 1+ throw in the game. And that was a 3rd down throw to Demario Douglas over the middle, which was a tremendous throw and tremendous catch for them. I think might have set up a touchdown. So a lot of their offense that they got going in the first 3 quarters was on, Bill O'Brien and scheming it up. He'd bring guys in late motion, using Demario Douglas as much as he did. And, basically it was the Kendrick Bourne and Demario Douglas show. I mean, hallelujah, thank God. And, hopefully that continues. And I think, and I was on TV last night with Mr. Felger, and, he's ranting and railing about Belichick's contract and about how, you don't want this. Like, is this what you want? Look at their offense. He's behind the times. And I'm like, this is a tough week to make this argument, because the Patriots actually looked like a modern offense on Sunday for once against the Bills. We don't know the reasons for it, but I thought it was a tremendous job by Bill O'Brien. I don't know why it took this long, but look, it's out there. They look like a modern offense. It looked really good.
Going back to the offseason, we talked about the lack of separation from the receivers, and it just makes sense to have Bourne and Pop play more than Parker and Juju. That should have been the case going back to week 1. Now Pop had the concussion and all of that stuff, and there's some Pop issues. I posted on X on Sunday a video of when Mac threw it in the back of the offensive line and then got mad at Pop Douglas, which we'll talk about a little bit later about his emotions. But Pop is supposed to sit on that route. Cornerback outside leverage, zone defense. Pop is supposed to sit. And as Mac, and I actually not only shot the video of it and broke it down, but I also took a snapshot a still frame of when Mac is about to unload the football and where he sees Douglas. And Douglas runs the whip route instead of sitting. And Mac sees it, thankfully, because if Mac throws that football to pick six, and 75% of the people that don't know what they're watching, respectfully will say, oh, there was another Mac. But, Pop runs the wrong route in that situation. So there is some of that. You can't throw Pop out there to run 60 snaps when he's not doing the correct things. But you also do have to live through some of those mistakes, right? There's a balance. So, scheme the guys open. We talked about it. That's the motion. That's what we saw. Rhythm throws. As far as easy throws, I know some people will look at that and say, well, you've got to coach around your quarterback. I disagree. Every coordinator has a job, and that coordinator's job is to set up his quarterback to succeed. Every quarterback, including Patrick Mahomes, has a number of quote-unquote easy throws that are scripted within the game. Andy Reid will do that constantly. If you see some of these, Travis Kelce.
I think he throws behind the line of scrimmage more than any other quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and nobody will talk about it, right? Because that's not on SportsCenter. What's on SportsCenter is when he extends the play and makes a ridiculous throw, and obviously the guy is just elite and crazy good. But every quarterback has scripted, easy throws. It's to kind of decompress, get you in a rhythm, even Patrick Mahomes. All right, with that said, Greg, I want you to dive in deep with Mac's performance. I know you've kind of hit around the edges here. I'm going to tell you that I read your piece on Mac. I thought you were a pretty tough grader on Mac this week. I'll be honest. I thought it was a pretty tough grade you gave him. But tell the people what you saw beginning to end.
Okay. So, and just to back you up on, there were again some route issues, in this game, including, and, you could see Mac react. I mean, it's a little Tom Brady-ish, Dan Marino-ish. Second play of the game, I don't know if Kendrick Bourne went in motion, but he's in the right slot. And Mac just takes the ball, and it's a real quick sort of, it's supposed to be like a little, bubble, a little quick screen to Kendrick Bourne. And guess what happens? Kendrick Bourne doesn't step back. He goes out, and Mac, basically he had to scramble for 5 yards on the play, and Mac's mad at Kendrick Bourne. And, that's the second play of the game. How many times do you think they rep that play? And, that stuff, goes on. Ezekiel Elliott had a route where he was pass blocking when he's supposed to be out in a route, and Mac gets mad at him, and there were other route issues on that. But look, I think, like I said, I think that the first three quarters, it was a lot of what the Patriots were doing offensively was a lot of empty calories, other than, guys like DeMario Douglas, breaking tackles, or, Ramondre Stevenson had a 14-yarder where he broke a tackle. Mac Jones, I had him he was tied for the most quarterback pressure allowed in this game as the quarterback. I had him giving up 2 hurries in the first quarter. The 3rd and 11 sack in the third quarter was awful. He had protection. He admitted after the game he was looking at the rush too much. And look, I understand it. So many people just think like, oh, well, Bill O'Brien comes in and the offense should be better overnight. Well, they changed the offensive line. They got guys back. Just, with a flip of the switch, Mac Jones should feel comfortable and not be rushed. That's just not how football works. Like there's not instant gratification with anything in football. It takes time. And when a quarterback is sped up as much as Mac Jones was over the first 5-6 weeks of the season, there are residual effects. There is, a sort of PTSD, and, that has been going on. And so, when Mac Jones goes back to pass, sometimes he doesn't realize that it's Michael Wenning at right tackle in this game. He's thinking it's Vidarian Lowe, and he's about to get creamed because that's been going on for a month. And it takes time. And I think in the fourth quarter, he finally, because of the way Bill O'Brien made it easy for him for 3 quarters, Mac finally settled down and was able to hang in the pocket and was much more calm, and delivered strikes. I mean, in the fourth quarter, let's just go through the last 2 drives. First down, the Pharaoh Brown pass was unbelievable. I mean, it was perfect placement, great catch by Pharaoh Brown. We talked about last week. I wanted more Pharaoh Brown. I'm fine with him and Hunter Henry being the two tight ends. Just move Gesicki to wide receiver to be a big post-up guy, like he was at the end. But however, Mac gets a delay game penalty, in the red zone. That can't happen. That's happened for 2 straight weeks. But on the next play, he makes up for it with a tremendous throw to Demario Douglas, over the middle for 19 yards. And then to finish the drive, Mac Jones on 2nd and goal, he looks to his left. He changes the wide receivers twice. Okay. And this is why, he's the MacBook Pro, Mac's brain. This is why he's a good fit for what the Patriots do for this exact situation where he's changing things around. And then he delivers a ball a little bit late to Kendrick Bourne, but he hangs in there and takes a hit and delivers a touchdown. Perfect pass on the outside to Kendrick Bourne. He turns the corner for a touchdown. So that's, really good stuff. The last drive when they needed it. Let's also point out on the drive before. Mac did have the sack that was negated by a really cheap illegal contact penalty on Teron Johnson, where if that stands, Mac's getting ripped, rightfully so, for sort of spinning around and getting hit. It was an out of control play. It was a dumb play. It was the stuff we've seen out of him. There was the near interception on the next drive, 1st and 15, incomplete to Hunter Henry. The ball gets tipped to the line and almost gets picked off. Would have been an awful turnover deep in their own territory. He had Kendrick Bourne wide open with cushion on the right. He just should have thrown that pass. But the final drive, we talk about the easy stuff. First play to Ramondre Stevenson, it's 34 yards. That's all Ramondre Stevenson and Bill O'Brien. Mac Jones has nothing to do with that. However, 3rd and 8, dime throw to Hunter Henry, who makes a great catch. He had 2 tremendous catches in this game, or it was, Mac doesn't have Josh Allen heat on the ball, so it takes a while to get there, and he's got to take a hit. He did a great job twice of doing that. The little touch pass to check down to Ramondre Stevenson for 10 yards on 2nd and 2 at the Buffalo 17 was a really nice throw for Mac Jones. 1st and goal at the 1, Mac misses Demario Douglas. That could have been the game. He missed the throw. He knew it. He missed the throw. And then he makes the same throw. They take out Demario Douglas, who's 5'8". They bring in 6'6" Mike Gesicki to run the same route, the same play. And Mac throws the same ball, and Gesicki catches it for the touchdown. So, the 4th quarter was tremendous. Up until then, I don't think Mac did really all that much to put this team in winning position. They got the turnover. They needed a short field to get a touchdown. And Bill O'Brien did a lot of good job. But the 4th quarter was awesome. It was. He was great in the 4th quarter. To me, the game's a 4-quarter game. And I don't grade on a curve. I don't give extra points for 4th quarters or game-winning drives because the first drive, as we've seen in other games where they've lost, drives and decisions in the 1st quarter can determine games as much as the 4th quarter. And so, Mac was really good. He was really, really good in the 4th quarter. I give him, somewhere around B- for this game, but awesome 4th quarter and very important for him going forward.
I was at a B+. I thought he was good. I thought he was good early on. I thought he was great late. I don't know. Everybody grades things differently. I see plays like the Bourne screenplay, and I give Mac credit for that. I say that's a good play. I think that's a heady play. It's a smart decision because the play's blown up because Bourne runs the wrong route, and he tucks it, runs it, picks up 4 yards. That's me.
Nick, what's also interesting, because I was trying to figure out, because I'm looking at my sheet, and I'm like, why did I give him an awareness plus? That was the play. I gave him a plus for that play. That he just tucked it and ran. So I did give him a plus on that play.
The pop sit play. That to me is a plus play. The Bourne chunk play where Bourne got, whatever it was, 25, 30 yards on the cross route. To me, that's a plus play on Mac because Mac looks at the options. He moves up in the pocket, good pocket manipulation, feeds Bourne on the run. Bourne takes it and picks up 30 yards. So I think there were plays there that he made. And obviously there were mistakes. I agree with you. You named, many of the mistakes. I would disagree on the illegal contact penalty. Have to call it, have to have it, especially the way that game was called. That's a penalty 10 times out of 10. And I'm not going to say the Patriots were bailed out. Mac is looking at Douglas. He's on the outside of the numbers. And Mac has to tuck that football because he's held at the top of the route. That's a penalty 10 times out of 10. If the Patriots defender commits that penalty, I think we're saying the Patriots defender is responsible for that. And we're not playing semantics games. So I thought that was a penalty across the board, no doubt about it. And, the pop touchdown, I wanted your thoughts on that before we move on. The popped missed touchdown in the fourth quarter. My read on that was because Pop is 5'8", as you mentioned, there was a player underneath for the Bills, 25, was underneath the route. How I read that was Mac, because Charles Davis said Mac should have zipped that in. I thought Mac saw the defensive back underneath and thought, if I try to zip that in, it could be a deflected pass, it could be a pick. I'm not screwing around with this. So he lofted it. And because he lofted it, Douglas couldn't get to it. And then they had the Gesicki change. Did you see that? Like I saw it, that there was the defender underneath and Mac played it safe and said, I'm not going to try to zip it in because that's a really tight window in this situation.
So that is definitely, part of the calculation for the quarterback on that play. It's probably one of the coaching points that, this is what we're going to do, but you got to look out for the linebacker. I mean, how many times have we seen quarterbacks throw a pick there where you're just like, they didn't see the linebacker. However, on that play, and I agree, I don't like basically the coaching point on that is to throw it high. Basically, in the end zone, you throw it high to the end line, and you throw it low at the goal line. And when you're in that area, and I don't think he could have zipped it in there, because you're worried about balls getting deflected. Maybe the other linebacker is reading the quarterback and comes out of nowhere and picks off the ball. It's got to be a high pointed ball, but the play was there. Mac's got to make a better touch pass than that.
Okay.
He just completely missed it, and you could tell his reaction. And I remember watching him because I was in the end zone where I was sitting. And he knew it. He almost went down to the ground like, oh, my God, I can't believe I missed that throw. And, I'm not going to, kill him for it. But you do. The worry is like you get that opportunity. Are you going to get another opportunity? Because, I think they were down. Did they have no timeouts at that point? They had no timeouts. You're worried about. Yeah. Ramondre Stevenson could fumble, which he and Damian Harris have done at the end of games. You could get a holding penalty. You could get a sack. A lot of bad things could happen there, so you don't want to just say, oh, well, they got the touchdown on the next one. But I think on film, Mac just missed the throw, even though it's somewhat understandable. What if there was an app that used AI and machine learning to suggest smart sports bets? There is, and it's called Odds Are. It is a mobile app you need to know what bets of the day are smart ones. Download the app, sign up for an account, and let the latest data analysis guide you through today's point spreads, money lines, and over-unders. I just did it. It's easy. If you see green, that's a smart bet. If you see yellow, you're on your own. If you see red, don't do it. Odds Are doesn't take your bet. It makes you better at it. With Odds Are on your mobile phone, you're a tap away from making a smart play. It's smart betting made simple. Find Odds Are app in the App Store or on Google Play. Get a 2 free week trial. It's just $10 a month after that. But hey, listen to that. That's for the usual people, the normal people. Listeners to this podcast, the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast, you actually get a special deal. Get your first 30 days of the app free. Just go to oddsr.com/Bedard to download the app. That's oddsr.com/Bedard. 30 days of smarter betting free. We'd call that a winning bet. The casinos and sportsbook want you to bet. Odds Are wants you to win. Go get it.
All right, let's move on to the defense quickly. I mean, 1 minute from you on this because we got the defense, we got 3 up, 3 down, and Belichick's contract. Emotions from Mac on Sunday. Is Greg Bedard okay with that or not okay with it?
I've always been okay with it. Like, I'm just curious where it comes from, especially off a quarterback who's 1-5 and not playing well for several weeks. All of a sudden is out there on the second play of the game and multiple plays, like ranting and raving at people about how they're not doing their job. I really wonder where that comes from. If it was Bill O'Brien, I think Mac Jones said something about Hunter Henry after the game. But look, I'm a Dan Marino fan. I don't care. People say stuff about him. I don't care. Like he was trying to hold his receivers to a higher standard, his teammates to a higher standard. It's not his fault his roster stunk and they never had a defense or a running game when he was there. They got the results out of it this weekend. And, maybe it just got to a point where their execution was so bad that, they were just like, Mac, just go and yell at people. I don't know, but it worked. And it was very visible on film from the get-go that he was hot at people.
I'm in the camp of go out being you. If Mac's going to go out in a blaze of glory, go out being you. Just be yourself. Good or bad, just be yourself. And guys will understand that that's you. If you're coming across as fraudulent, it's not good. I also thought there were moments, positive reinforcement. There was, I don't know if it was a 3 and out, but the O-line, they didn't do great on one of the drives. And Mac was on the sidelines. And I don't remember seeing this. And he talked about communicating better a couple of weeks ago. He was on the sidelines waiting for his offensive line to get there. And he made it a point to greet each guy, slap him on the ass, say something. So I thought that was a positive step. I liked him pumping up the crowd on the first drive, the Kendrick Bourne mess up. After he gets up, he's throwing his arms up at the crowd saying, let's go. I like that. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to criticize him about the Dallas smirk for a half a second, which Greg said, and I thought it was a great point going back to that game, we don't know what Mac said. Mac could have looked at Bailey and said, don't shit the bed like I did. We have no idea what he said. But if we're going to take a snapshot of a half a second from a blowout and run with it for the entire week and say Mac doesn't care, he doesn't care about winning it, I'm just so tired of the lazy commentary. Let's be fair. And so I'd rather see him pumped up and slapping asses and high fives and yelling at receivers, because if you're going to kill him for not being fully engaged, well, that's fully engaged. You can't have it both ways. All right, let's jump to the defense. They changed things up, Greg, against the Bills finally.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, they blitzed, Josh Allen, and we talked about this coming into the game that, when you looked at what the Giants did against Josh Allen and the Bills the week before, they brought a lot of at least token pressure, but they got the big thing is you need to get Josh Allen sped up. That you can't just in recent games against the Bills, they sit back, they drop a bunch of guys into coverage, and Josh Allen just sits back there and, buys time, and then, somebody gets open, and you're just looking at it, you're just like, what the hell are you doing? Play defense against this guy. You can't let him sit back there all day because he's got a howitzer and he's going to pick you apart. And that happened time and time again against the Patriots. So this time, they blitzed them 50% of the time. We've talked about how much they blitzed and how that sort of stressed the secondary, especially the safeties. And that went on in this game. But the Bills just did not. I really question if Ken Dorsey knows what he's doing, because they just did not take advantage of, okay, the Patriots are going to blitz, take advantage of their safeties, which obviously are not good in coverage. And that happened in this game. I mean, for example, the one time they did it, there was a deep incompletion to Stephon Diggs beyond anybody on the Patriots. I mean, this should have been an 80-yard touchdown, but because of the wind, and I do think the wind helped. I think the wind was almost like a 12th defender, like a deep free safety for the Patriots in this game. But that was a total play that we've seen the Patriots in Kyle Duggar blow, and he blew it again, and there was a touchdown. They're just lucky the wind was blowing really strong, and the ball moved about 5 yards at the end. but I thought it was great. This is the way you need to defend Josh Allen. I thought the rush was great between blitzing, but also a controlled blitz. And also often what they would do was when they brought extra people, at least one of them was just sort of token pressure. I come up and then I sit back as a spy. And I thought they did a great job most of the time of, collapsing the pocket, not giving Allen many places to move. That being said, Josh Allen is a freaking freak, man. I mean, how many times did the Patriots have him? How many times did they have him dead to rights in the pocket?
Oh, God.
And, he would sidestep somebody, whether it's Barmore or Duggar or the one that cracked me up the most was they sent Miles Bryant on a corner blitz against Josh Allen, and he doesn't make the sack. I mean, of course he doesn't. It's like a fly trying to tackle a sequoia. Like he just bounced off Josh Allen's legs and then he goes outside. I just thought that, I thought the plan was awesome. I love how they attacked. They actually played defense in this game. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Maybe part of it was because they're getting a little bit healthier in the secondary with, J.C. Jackson and Jack Jones was back in this game. I do think part of it is the Bills are just lost on offense right now. They just don't know what to do. It's not schemed well. But I definitely like Mac Jones in the fourth quarter. I thought the Patriots did great executing their plan, and I loved how it was aggressive for once. And they tried to win the game, which they did in the first quarter. It was a bad interception that Josh Allen threw. It wasn't a complicated scheme. It wasn't like the Patriots showed man and then all of a sudden morphed into cover three. No, they tipped their hand. They were going to be cover three before the snap. And Josh Allen underthrew the route, where on that sort of pass, you need to overthrow the route to the sideline. And he just made a mindless interception. But, getting a turnover like that, getting a 10-point lead, that was probably the whole key to the game. And so that's the defense going out and trying to make plays, trying to win the game for once. And I thought it was awesome.
3 up, 3 down. Let's start with the down, so we end up on a positive. Let's start with the 3 down. Go ahead, Greg.
City So. I know there is some school of thought from Pro Football Focus that City So was some unbelievable guard in this game. I just did not think that was the case. I had him for 3 quarterback pressures, 3.5 stuffed runs. He was by far the worst offensive lineman in this game. Not to say he was bad, and he's certainly serviceable. And what they did with the offensive line, putting their best 5 on the field, was definitely a good approach, and they might as well stick with this. I mean, they didn't have any more options at right tackle. I mean, Vidarian Lowe was a disaster. Riley Reif is hurt. Calvin Anderson is so bad he's inactive every week, a healthy scratch. Tyrone Wheatley Jr. is hurt and probably wasn't really an option. So it was either put City So out there or Mike Owenu. I don't think it was a hard choice. But to me, City So was he had a rough time in this game, and it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great.
I'll go with Miles Bryant. He had some tackling issues. You mentioned the Josh Allen thing, but he also missed a couple of tackles in this game that I thought allowed some yak. He could have been better there. So I'll go with Miles Bryant. Who's next? Kyle
Duggar. I did not think he was good in this game. He drew a holding penalty, which was his 1+, but I had him for, 2 missed tackles, a couple big plays. He gave up the 2-point conversion. Again, same sort of play in the back of the end zone where his eyes aren't in the right place and he gets easily beaten. He almost had another play that he gave. Oh, the Diggs play that we talked about. Like, he got torched on that. It should have been an 80-yard touchdown for the Bills. He just got lucky. It was windy. He wasn't great on that. I must have watched that Allen to Steph Diggs throw with 14 seconds left like 15 times, trying to figure out like how he dropped the ball, because it was right there. Adrian Phillips was there. God. They were all there. I mean, you watch it, you watch the throw and you watch Diggs, you're like, oh my God, that's going to be completed. And I guess he hit the ground sort of in a funny way, but it was right there. So, Kyle Duggar, they need to get him out of space. They need to get him near this line of scrimmage. This is not working. Somebody's going to really kill this team.
Yep. I agree. Look, you got to play better, but I blame the coaching staff as well. Like, he's miscast. Put him where he belongs. He should have had that pick in the end zone too. The thing was up there for 45 seconds. I have no idea how it doesn't bring that down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, game over. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just hanging up there for Tyquan Thornton, 3 snaps. Enough said. Your last down guy.
Same. Tyquan Thornton. He had 3 snaps, ran a bad route on one of them. That might have got him sent to the bench. So, you could also toss Devontae Parker in there too if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll throw Parker in there. That's whatever. Let's get to 3 up.
Who did I? Oh, Demario Douglas. He was unbelievable in this game. I had him for 6 ups. The one, route that he ran poorly could have cost the team dearly, but he was super impactful in this game. So that's tremendous. Fourth quarter, Mac was my 2nd up, and my 3rd up, I'm just going to go in general to the defensive line, defensive front. I thought very minimal mental mistakes in this game. They did a great job with pressure and rush and being disciplined. To me, that was the whole key in this game and holding Josh Allen down was how they rushed in the front 7. And that included some of the safeties and stuff like that. But just, the pass rush, the defensive line in general.
Godshaw and Barmore. Woof. On a heater. I love Jabril Peppers. He might be my favorite player on this team. I love his attitude. I love his approach. I love his physicality. I love everything about this guy. He is the perfect example of a Bill Belichick player. We used to talk about this going back more years ago, and not as much recently, but first round kind of talent. And he's just, Bill's gotten the most you can get out of Peppers. And I just think this guy is such a force. He makes plays. He's going to make mistakes, but he makes plays. He had like 9 tackles. He had the interception. Dude's a beast. I'm a big fan of Jabril Peppers. Huge. Can't say his name right now, but I'm a huge fan of Peppers. All right, before we get to Bill Belichick's contract, check these guys out over at BSJ. They do a great job. Bedard, Giardi on the Patriots. Hags on the Bruins. Corrales getting ready for his Celtics coverage. So that's going to be awesome. So check them out. Also, I'll tell you, this episode, as always, is brought to you by Fanduel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. All right, Greg, what the hell is going on with Bill Belichick's contract?
I don't really know. And, I think this is a pretty overblown story. I mean, just because we're never going to know any specifics. We're never going to know the details. And just because there's these fuzzy, multi-year, lucrative, blah, 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 like it doesn't mean there's any more information in that. It's just words. Like, the bottom line to me is this, Nick. The only thing that matters, the only thing that's relevant, I don't care about the term, I don't care about whatever, is ownership, if things get really bad, is ownership willing to move on from Bill Belichick no matter what is left on his contract? I've been told yes. There will be people who don't believe that, who think the Crafts are cheap and they won't do this. And they might be right. But all I can tell you is what I'm reporting, and that the Crafts will move on if it comes to it. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season, whether it happens. But, I don't think I think this is completely overblown. I think this is a talk radio story because it's different than the football team, which has mostly been bad, and they're just globbing onto it. And look, well, like I said last week, going into the Bills game, and I can't tell you how many emails and tweets I got from people saying like, how come you're not coming down stronger on the team? They're obviously dead. And, one paper's writing the time of death of the Patriots off of the last game. And I just refuse to do that because I've seen too many things covering the league for over 20 years and how things can change and how one game can change. I don't know whether that's going to happen now. So my stance, and I know it's not sexy, and I know we have a podcast to do today, and we have a talk radio show to do today. But the truth of the matter is there are going to be no decisions made on Bill Belichick until the season is over. We need to see all of it. We need to see Mac Jones. We need to see the offense. We need to see the season. If they close with 7 straight wins, that's going to change the calculation. So, it doesn't surprise me. My read on it is Bill was probably going into a lame duck year. That never happens with a coach. You always get extended going into a lame duck year. But the Krafts, if needed, they will walk away, or they probably have language built into it about buyout and deferred payments and like all this stuff. But the most interesting thing that I found from this, that Bill got an extension or new contract or whatever it is off of his second losing season in 3 years. And I have no problem with it because I think Bill Belichick has earned that. Like, he has earned with what he's done for the Krafts, the franchise, the area, with the 6 Super Bowl titles and the unparalleled success. If I give him an extra $50 million, okay, fine. I've made that back. How many folds if I'm the Krafts with my franchise valuation? But the thing is, so I have no problem with that. What's ironic is that that's the respect contract that Tom Brady wanted after winning a Super Bowl title in 2018 that he never got from Bill Belichick. So Bill gets the respect contract, which he should. Tom doesn't. I think that's a bunch of bull crap. If I was Robert, I'd be like, well, we're just going to give you the Brady deal that you would give him and why you basically drove him out of town. So those are sort of my wide-ranging thoughts on it.
Went deep into this. We're short on time because Greg has to run to Felger and Maz and go through that pain for a couple of hours. But I will say you can check out my pod on the YouTube channel there, Nick Cattles. You can check that out for my in-depth breakdown about everything if you're interested. But I tend to agree with a lot of what you said, Greg. I read this situation as, all right, you got 1 year left on your deal, Bill, in 2023. What are we going to do about this? Well, let's tack on an extra year for 2024. And I would not be surprised if there's some kind of option for 2025. And that's where the whole several years, multi-years, all that crap comes in. I don't think Belichick or Kraft wanted Belichick to be a lame duck coach this year. It makes no sense to do that. And, he wants to break Shula's record. So I think Kraft gives him a chance to do that by extending him through 24, gives him an option 25 just in case this works out. And then they can revisit it later on. I think that's what likely happened. And I'd be flabbergasted if Kraft doesn't have protections within this contract. There has to be outs. What's the guaranteed money? All of those things.
Yep.
The earned it thing that you mentioned for what Belichick has done, I think you earn it to a point. I do think 25 and 26, the previous 3 years, the Patricia Joe Judge decision, how Bill handled the quarterback position since Brady left, Jarrett Stidham, anybody remember that? Cam Newton off the scrap heap. So I think if this was what I think it was through 24 and then the option, I'm okay with it. If this was Kraft giving Belichick like through 2025, I think that's malpractice. I think that's bananas. I don't think you can go beyond 24 with some outs built in. I think that's bad by the owner. And I'll just say this to wrap it up. I tend to believe the people that work, and I'm not saying that Ian Rappaport was wrong or Schefter. I'm not saying that. The details, the language, all of that. I tend to lean towards the guys and the women that have sources for a number of years built up and have been around. And I know Rapp was for a little while, but Jeff Howe's report, going back a couple weeks ago, which was months after this negotiation, told us that Kraft was willing to pull the trigger on Bill. Greg's told us that Kraft's willing to pull the trigger. Tom Curran has said it. Mike Reese said it today on Bertrand and Zoe, or Zolak and Bertrand. So Mike Reese has also said that. Karen Garigian, who I love her work. She is an OG. She knows a ton of people. Her and Tom Curran have been working on the beat for like a combined 60 years. And they both say Belichick's not safe. That's the message. That's what matters the most. He's Greg. Yep. I'm Nick. We'll talk to you later in the week to get you ready for the Dolphins. Until then, be well.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.